Welcome back to our next episode of Beyond the Books. Today I'm joined by Estelle, and Estelle is our head of payroll. So, hi Estelle.
Hi.
So, take us on a bit of a journey then. How did you get into payroll? What attracted you to the payroll, and take us through that journey of your career so far?
Okay, so like many people in payroll, I kind of fell into payroll. It wasn't a plan. Worked in various departments of finance, bookkeeping, the likes of, and in particular, I was self-employed at a period. Had a number of clients that I was doing small payrolls for, as well as general bookkeeping. One of those clients became a big client, growing a business. And I then joined them full time and was operating their payroll function, which was more on like a recruitment agency side of things with IR35 and the likes of. However, that progressed and did payroll in general. And then I came to TC Group. And from here, that was my first payroll bureau experience. I'd only ever really done in-house payroll previously. However, the challenge was quite exciting of what there was to do within bureau and how to manage the clients, and all my previous experience with the clients I'd worked with previously sort of became apparent that this was good for payroll in general. The journey really began fully for my payroll with TC Group, with bureau.
Right. So you were self-employed before then. How long was you
Yeah.
self-employed?
Oh, it was about 6 or 7 years.
Okay, so quite some time.
6 or 7 years. And then I carried on a little bit of self-employment whilst joining this other firm. And then when it got to the point where they needed full-time hours with me, I then concentrated with their business, helped them grow, sort of joined that business with 6 people and ended up with over 100. So it was quite a big journey. Sort of moved on then to here.
And here we've got in the payroll team, how many people have we got here?
We've got 6 in the payroll team present, ranging from payroll assistant right the way through to payroll manager.
And spread across the 3 offices as well,
predominantly
as well, which is nice from a client touch point as well for all the portfolios there. So most people only think about payroll on payday. What would you say goes on behind the scenes during the month that clients and staff members might not see and appreciate?
Absolutely, yeah. There is a lot that goes on in payroll behind the scenes. As you say, people do just think of us on payday, and we often don't hear from anybody until something goes wrong, rather than it all being accurate and on time month after month. One moment you've got a penny difference on your payroll, then people contact us. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of admin, there's a lot of legislation, there's over 170 pieces of legislation in payroll. So the team are constantly learning, webinars, training, the likes of. Government changes always impact us. That has, a huge impact to payroll. Anytime any little decision is made, that can be software changes and the likes of, to then accommodate the changes that need to be put into place. Communication then with our clients that will be affected for various changes, to ensure that they are aware of the updates and what needs to happen, and how we can assist them in rolling those out in their businesses.
I think one good thing which we learned was from a legislative point of view through COVID, because there's a lot of assumed knowledge there. As the government were releasing stuff day by day for furlough and things, there was an assumption there that we were going to know that straight away.
Absolutely.
And actually, you were just constantly
we knew at the same time you did. Same time as the clients did. So you'd get phone calls the next day. What are we going to do about this? How about this? How about that? And we're like, whoa, we've heard at midnight just like you. We've now got to build on this and make it happen quickly, to be able to facilitate
just to get
the
it through.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say then today employers are facing in a challenging way? I know there's legislative with the HR piece, with employers' day one rights, so that's sick pay from day one, etc. But what else would you?
There's a lot for employers to consider, really. The Fair Work Agency has now been set up by the government, And this incorporates a lot of things. With the Fair Work Agency, it's not new, it is enforcing what's already there, and it will be enforced more. What it means is that the government have more ability to come to clients and do audits, spot checks. The Fair Work Agency will actually contact employees directly to ask them, are they being paid correctly? So if anybody has any qualms, then the employees can actually report this to the Fair Work Agency. Fair Work Agency would then obviously investigate employers. So that could be from statutory payments, sick pay not being correctly, processed, or their hourly pay, the national minimum wage and the national living wage. Obviously, again, big key areas, more so for some sectors, obviously, with hourly paid workers. But yeah, there's a lot in there, and records need to be kept by the employers quite stringently, more than they have been now, because they will be able to go back the 6 years on the payroll records,
right,
to investigate. Yeah,
I suppose with that, then there will likely be an influx of investigations.
Absolutely,
because it's in the employees'
yeah,
right to raise it as and when above the employer, which then comes into the next bit about the common payroll mistakes or what businesses are making. They need to make sure they're on it with it,
absolutely,
don't they?
Yeah, and say, we can help furnish them with information and legislation that they do need. When we receive payroll information from the client, we are processing what we've been asked to process. So we have to assess and look at that. And if we feel it's not right or it doesn't follow the legislation, then we need to take that to the client, explain to them why and the risks involved around that. If the employer chooses to ignore that, then the onus is still fully with the employer, and that they are at risk that if they do have an investigation, then they will carry that risk of what may or may not be right.
I've seen a couple of scenarios, I suppose, for apprentices where they've been asked to do extra hours, say on a weekend or something, but actually for their age and for their entitlement, they can't do more than a certain set of hours, which then I suppose would form part of this piece here because they're over.
Because that would potentially take them below the minimum wage. And to be fair, it's not just apprentices, it's everybody. So, I say hourly paid workers, it is a key area that I think will be focused on, because, that extra half an hour here or hour there, yes, for example, you take a lunch break, you're entitled to take your lunch break, should take your lunch break.
Yeah.
But if someone is proving that they are doing those hours, then the employer has a responsibility to look at that and make decisions of what they need to do with it, either to pay them or to make sure the breaks are enforced, for example. Again, it's going to differ from business to business of how that works. But, even simple things like the Fair Work Agency will view if an employee has documented their hours themselves, they will look at that as evidence.
Right.
Whereas, before it would have been a, he said, she said type of situation. But it really is quite stringent. So the key message there to the clients is you must keep adequate records for, what your workers are working, the time they're working, and make sure that you can record and produce the evidence when you need it, to obviously be able to back yourself up, really.
I think that's really interesting because then that falls into the tech and automation piece, doesn't it? Because I know from a tech perspective, there's all different payroll softwares, and I know we've recently changed over the last 18 months, but also from the automation for the hourlies is how we're recording those hours.
Yes.
Are they still on paper? Are they clock in, clock out with the app? Which I've seen quite regularly now that some clients have picked up those for sort of warehousing factories, etc. So it's automating it in the most simplistic way so that it's easily trackable, suppose, more than anything.
Yeah, time and attendance systems definitely, I think, will be on the up definitely. Because so the employers need to take note of that. Again, that's another expense for an employer, quite frankly, but they kind of need to take heed of that and look at it, because the impact it could have on them the other way is quite vast.
How would it work with payroll then? So I know we changed our payroll in-house to a much more automated, better system for us and for clients. So what about if we don't do a client's payroll? We obviously can review clients' payrolls.
We can indeed,
go in, do a review, and offer some support there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can certainly do a review, and we can look at specific areas like that, or across the board at all of their payroll function, if they wish.
One other piece then from supporting the clients, I suppose, from the clients that we do currently support and we get involved with, how do you make sure that the team are consistently delivering exceptional client experience?
Good question. The main one is that all payrolls are done every month on time. Obviously, accuracy plays a huge part in that. So we cope with that on a month-to-month basis normally. So any of these extra bits, I think every month that we process payroll, we have an additional task to process, because something's always changing. There's something we need to notify the clients about. And we, try and deliver that client experience as best we can by providing them with that information. Whether it's social media posts, whether it's direct emails to the clients through their portal to provide them with information, blogs, it is keeping them abreast of the information. Again, obviously we can provide it. Hopefully they do read it
and take it on board.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think with that as well, the business club that's set up as well with the memberships in there.
Yeah.
Delivering the legislative updates and fact sheets and templates, etc., to help move along as well for clients or people that want to just be a part of the club for the support of payroll, and that as well will come into force at the same time. Okay, that's fine, thank you. So looking ahead for the payroll profession over the next 5 years, where do you think it's going?
Yeah. Again, I think we'll still be working our socks off as we always do, because there are always changes happening. So we've got, say, Fair Work Agency, I think will generate more work within the industry, because there will be more inspections and people, but maybe we'll want those reviews more so than they do now. We've also got next year with the payroll and benefits in kind being mandatory from April. So there's an element there that's also changed for clients again. So that, again, it will take clients a couple of years to get up to speed and really understand what it's all about. So even though we've been telling them for the last 2 years, until it actually happens, people often don't appreciate the full impact of what it does. And
And with that, just going back to that, because that was raised at the business club and Joe did a presentation on that. That's going to be quite big for the forthcoming sort of 2 periods, isn't it? Because we're going to have one for this current year as a P11D form submitted to HR, plus then the payrolling. So in effect, it's going to be 2 years in one.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how they're going to deal with that.
That's also going to kind of be spread across the next 2 years, because there's some elements that are mandatory from April 27, and the government have just announced that some of what they were anticipating as mandatory will now be voluntary for the following 12 months. So that takes us into 2028. So it's confusing, I think, for the clients. So again, we're trying to be as clear as possible and to advise and look at the payrolls and look at the clients of who needs what, and try and make sure they're furnished with the information they need.
And also for the employees, because what could be £50 a month going up to £100 a month is quite detrimental to the employees as well.
The crossover period on the payroll and benefit in kind and P11. So there will be a crossover, there is no doubt about that. But I think we don't need to worry or be too scared about that. Because the P11D is reported at the end of the year. So say, for example, year ending April 26, is taking into account what has been earned from 25-26 and is reported on the P11D. That's submitted by July 26, and any tax code changes will happen over those next couple of months. Then if somebody has already started their journey on payroll and benefits in kind from April 26, the actual payroll and benefit in kinds will be reported on a monthly basis in the real time. So HMRC will be aware of those. So they will have already had April, May and June's payroll and benefit in kind before they've received the P11D. So then what HMRC will do, they will see, right, this person's now on payroll and benefit in kind. They know they will have adjusted their code for that current year, but they will also have to make an adjustment for the P11D for the previous year. So that's where the crossover bit kind of happens. But once that's happened, then it will flow nicely and it will just be the monthly, and the employees should have less tax code changes, and it should simplify that part of payroll.
Hopefully.
So I think as well, clients often underestimate the power of payroll to their employees and how important it is. So, the employees need to be paid accurately and on time, but there is so much more than that. If they do not give us the correct information, we then process it as we've been advised. Then they'll get the queries from the employees, which gives you unsettled employees. You will find that if we've got accurate information provided and the payroll is processed accurately, it does have an impact on happy employees, which I think is a lot of clients underestimate.
Brill, thank you. So last question, I suppose, from me is, if you could give one piece of advice to business owners regarding payroll, what would it be?
Take payroll seriously. There's a lot of people, as you started with, just worry about it on payday. Clear, precise records. You must have those. And if you're not sure on any legislation, ask, seek advice so that you do get it right. There is a lot to consider. We want to protect clients as much as possible. So doing those simple steps, it is, really important that they get the information right. We can only process what we're provided with.
Bro, thank you, Estelle. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.